Dan Illman, Matt Bernier. Race number 5 on Kentucky Oaks Friday is the Grade 2 8 Bells Stakes for 3-year-old fillies going 7 furlongs. $250,000 is the purse. Let's take a look at this field. Your morning line favorite on the far outside, Matt. It's the number 9, Mother. Bob Baffert, Florent Giroux, good stalking style. Probably works out a nice trip racing in the clear behind what should be a solid pace. My concern is I wonder if this horse has plateaued already. Last 4 races, buyers of 81, 79, 84, 85. I just don't see a big forward progression just yet from Mother. She can obviously win this race, but my kind of opinion in the 8 Bells is that I don't want to take her to win at a short price.
No, and she's a little bit of a peculiar case, just top to bottom. You brought up maybe she's plateaued from a number standpoint. How about also the idea that her career best fig thus far is her career debut all the way back as a 2-year-old in July. She hasn't gotten any faster, and you see that Baffert has gone back and forth, blinkers on, blinkers off. Usually when he does make an equipment change, he usually kind of sticks with it. This has been sideways, left and right. I think she's okay and just okay, and I think another thing that you may want to factor in, if there is wet weather on Friday afternoon, a couple of her subpar races, I know she almost won that race in the Beaumont most recently. I think she's better on a fast main track. She has won at Churchill, but I'm with you. At a short price, I'll be against her.
Let's throw up the Timeform U.S. pace projector for this race. It's a red bar situation indicating a fast pace is expected by our friends at Timeform U.S. The 4 break-even is sitting second on the pace projector. Break-even has been very fast throughout her career. 3 starts, 3 wins, all up and on the pace. Last time out winning a little stakes race at Oaklawn over a wet track, but that day she just got completely loose, and I can't see her getting that same kind of trip with a horse like Lyrical Lady or Take Charge Angel in this field.
No, especially when you look at the 2 most recent runs. Timeform has had blue fractions for both of those, and she's been able to get out there and have pretty cushy trips, whether it's on the lead or pressing and eventually taking over. I'm not questioning her ability. I do wonder, though, how does she react when there is other speed thrown at her, because I just genuinely, I don't think she is fast enough to outfoot a horse like Lyrical Lady.
A horse that might benefit from a fast pace is sitting last after a quarter mile on our pace projector. That's the 2 Proud Emma, and this route to sprint move has worked for trainer Peter Miller and Proud Emma in the past. She won an optional claiming race 2 starts back, coming from well off of a big pace. Similar situation to what she's likely to face in the 8 Bells. Last time out they stretched her out in the Gazelle. It was not the strongest Gazelle in the world, but it was a race where it just didn't have any pace. And A, I think it was a little far for Proud Emma, and B, I just don't think she had the right setup. She'll get a better setup here, but I'm just not sure how good she is.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, she has paired up by her tops of 77. I assume you're going to get a forward move. The problem is, even if you get a forward move into the mid-80s, I think some of these girls could be sitting on big moves forward. To me, if you're going to use her underneath.
Mike Smith regains the mount. Mike is 2 for 2 on Proud Emma. Let's take a look at a formulator fact for the number 1, Take Charge Angel, going out for trainer Ben Colebrook. Over the past 4 years, Colebrook with 3-year-old dirt sprinters making their second start off a layoff of 45 days or greater, 23% winners and a positive ROI. This horse, I think, used her most recent race as a prep at Keeneland. It was her first start off of a long layoff. She pressed the pace, and that's a pretty nice horse that beat her that day. I think Take Charge Angel really benefited from that effort. The question is, can she sit? Because I'm not sure if she's as fast as the 4 or the 7.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of a difficult position for Johnny V, because you're down on the inside. Last thing you want to do is give away sort of any kind of ground and get boxed in and behind runners. But at the same time, if you want to go out there to try to establish position in a race like this where it looks like the 4 and the 7 have both got big speed early on, you know, the last thing you want to do is completely cook your goose early on. I don't know. I think it's a situation where you go, you wait and see. You got to break and you got to be aggressive. And who knows? If they decide to take back and they're content sitting off you, then you take advantage and say, we're going to go on with it. If they're hell-bent on the lead, then you take back and you say, let's try to ease out into the clear.
And friends, remember, her debut win at Churchill Downs was so impressive that she was favored over Mother in that Rags to Riches Stakes in start number 2. I think Delmar Mays interesting. Maybe a little bit slow on paper for Richard Baltus. She ran a couple of nice races behind Brill and Bellafino, who's going to be the favorite in the Kentucky Oaks. 2-turn race in the Chandelier, boy, that just didn't work out for Delmar May, and it preceded a lengthy layoff. But coming back off that layoff, I know she found a field she could beat. They finally put her in a spot where she could win a maiden race, and she won very easily by 4 lengths. I think this horse reminds me a little bit of Baltus's Gas Station Sushi, who was a nice little 3-year-old filly dirt sprinter a couple years ago.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I think this is a situation where you finally got that maiden score out of the way, get her a little bit of confidence off that long layoff, goes out there, beats a field that she can easily handle. She kept great company as a 2-year-old. Sure, she didn't win any races, but like you say, Brill and Bellafina, there's nothing wrong with those horses, and even Vibrance is in there as well. I agree with you. I mean, if you're looking for kind of a completely fresh face, why not a horse like Delmar May, who I don't think is exposed yet? I don't know if we know how good she is just yet. I think she could take a big step forward here. And the good thing is she doesn't have to be involved in the pace. She can sit just off and get first run.
I like the turn back for the 8 Bizwax for trainer Doug O'Neill. A couple of 3 2-turn races leading up to this one. Catches a field full of speed on the turn back. She should be sitting comfortably in mid-pack. The blinkers go on. Here's a formulator fact for trainer Doug O'Neill. Past 4 years, 3-year-olds on dirt, cutting back from route to sprints and adding blinkers, 27% winners, a $2.41 ROI. I just don't really think she got much of a setup last time out in the Ashland over a speed-friendly track. I'm willing to forgive that effort. The one disappointment for me was I thought she was going to win the Honeybee. She got a great setup. She got a decent enough trip. She had the first run. I guess if you want to argue the last run was the best run in that race, well then, kudos to Chocolate Kisses. I also wonder after 10 starts if we know what Bizwax is by now.
That's my big knock here. Through 10 starts, she has 1 win, but that's not even the piece for me that's a little bit alarming. It's the idea that she's only earned a career best buyer of 81. She lives in the high 70 range. Simply put, I don't think that's good enough to win in here, but you do see that she's run second or third 7 times, and with that turn back, with some pace, maybe at 20-1, she's one that can get a piece of this thing.
The 5 Bells the One went into the Grade 1 Ashland off a 4-race win streak to begin her career, and the Ashland was an unmitigated disaster. Was it simply a situation where she found that company a little bit too tough?
I mean, that's the way I looked at it. I picked her that day, and I thought perhaps it was just a situation. I didn't love the field, and I wanted to take a horse that had done nothing wrong. Well, apparently you take on better horses, you can kind of get exposed a little bit. I guess it's going to be one of those things. She was relatively close to a hot pace, so maybe that didn't work to her advantage. Turning back in distance, maybe that helps. I needed to see something more in the Ashland to really give her a benefit of doubt here.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Grade 2 8 Bells Stakes. You're going with the Keeneland graduate, the number 7 Lyrical Lady, who was just so impressive, winning her career debut at Saratoga that she was favored in the Grade 2 Adirondack. And listen, something must have happened to her in that race because that race preceded a lengthy layoff, but you had to have been impressed by the way she won her comeback for Steve Asmussen. She showed big speed, but it was natural speed. She did it very easily, and she just coasted home under Ricardo Santana Jr. I think it was, again, a perfect prep race for her. Now, she's going to have to go 7 with other speeds in here, but I think this filly's got a lot of upside, and she once sold for a ton of money. People have always thought highly of her.
You know, maybe I'm going a little bit overboard, but everything that you laid out about that most recent run at Oaklawn, she just did it so easily, where she was just basically hands and heels until Santana gave her a little tap on the shoulder at the top of the lane, and she kept going on. She held off Brill, and I know it was a comeback effort for Brill, but she came back and earned an 82 in her next start. The 4th place finisher is the next out winner with a 76. And to be honest, Dan, I think she's just faster than everyone else. I think there's a scenario where she just clears off to the front, and we've seen it time and time again in sprint races. You know, sometimes it looks like there's going to be a fast pace. The speed of the speed sometimes is hard to run down. Maybe I'm overrating her. I also don't think you're going to get 8-1. I think she comes down from there. I'd see her in that 4-1, 9-2 range, but I like her a lot in here.
I'm hoping if she goes down, Queen of Bees goes up from a value standpoint, although Queen of Bees has been favored in all 3 lifetime starts. Big Fig 2 starts back at the 7-furlong distance at Gulfstream in a maiden win, a 92 buyer. Kind of dropped a little bit last time out in the first race against Winners, but I liked the way she won that race. She was the only horse that day that came from off the pace to win, and by the time she made the lead, it was kind of all over. She came with a nice 4-wide bid on the far turn. Now, granted, it was a much weaker field than she's going to face here, and she was entered in a race at Keeneland. I think it was the race that Mother was raced in the Beaumont, but it was a big wet track. Trainer Jorge Abreu decided to scratch, so she's coming into this race off a little bit of a layoff. But if the pace is fast, I think Queen of Bees might be able to handle this hike in class.
I picked her second in here. I agree with you. I like what she's done in all 3 of her lifetime starts. And sure, that big jump up in the second lifetime start, for me initially, before she came back and ran in that run most recently, I was a little bit alarmed by it because I don't like those giant steps forward because it makes me think it might be a little bit of an aberration. But I thought she acquitted herself really nicely, and you brought it up. Not only was she the only one to make up ground over a speed-friendly track, the pace was slow that day, and she was still able to come into it. So I thought it was a really solid effort. You bring up the layoff. I think it has to be a little bit of a concern in here, but if you believe the pace projector, maybe she gets everything that she needs to come with a run.
Give me numbers in the 8 bells.
7394, I'm all in on Lyrical Lady.
3479 for me. In the grade 2 8 bells, I'm using 3 and 7 as my A's in multis. I'm using the 4 break even as a backup. I'm going to try to beat Mother in here. She could obviously win for the great Bob Baffert. Approximate post time for the grade 2 8 bells, 12:35 Eastern on Friday. Good luck.